Jim Kane is the junior senator from Virginia. Prior to serving in the Senate, Senator Kane was a Richmond City Councilor, Mayor of Richmond, Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, and Governor of Virginia. In 2016, Senator Kane was the Democratic candidate for Vice President of the United States. During law school at Harvard, Senator Kane took a year off to assist Jesuit missionaries in Honduras run a school to train teenagers to become carpenters and welders, an experience which led to his lifelong commitment to advancing job opportunities for everyone. Senator Kane serves on both the Foreign Relations and Armed Services Committee, a powerful combination. He is a member of the Bipartisan Task Force for Combating Anti-Semitism and a co-sponsor of the Countering Anti-Semitism Act. He is a man of great faith, which drives his determination to serve the public. Senator Tim Kaine.
Well, good afternoon. What a good group. And I want to thank Greg for his kind words, and all of you. Welcome to the Senate. It is something when the House guys schlep all the way over here. I had to schlep precisely one flight of stairs from my office directly beneath the Kennedy Caucus Room, but we're always thrilled to welcome you here for Heritage Month in May. I want to acknowledge the colleagues who came before me, Brad and Debbie and Brian, such great members of the legislature, the House and the Senate. And I'll just share with you for a few minutes. I live in Richmond. Richmond is a city with a very historic and long-standing Jewish community. In fact, when Richmond became a city, very soon after it became a city and there was a city council, there were Jewish members of the Richmond City Council going back into the 1780s. The city became a state capital because Thomas Jefferson decided the Redcoats were too close to Williamsburg, and so moved the state capital to Richmond. And from our early days as a city, we have been a city with a very strong and prominent Jewish community. As my colleagues have said, this feels very, very different than being here last year. I try to come every year, and each year there's a theme, and each year we recognize two great leaders. In this case, we're so glad to have Eric and Malcolm and acknowledge their many contributions to the Jewish community, but obviously to the broader American community. But it does feel different for the reason that was described. My worry about anti-Semitism in Virginia and elsewhere led me to take the floor of the Senate on January 16 of this year to give a speech about anti-Semitism. Some of you know that January 16 is International Religious Freedom Day, and it was designated as International Religious Freedom Day in the United States more than 30 years ago. Why January 16? January 16 was the day in 1786 when the Virginia General Assembly in downtown Richmond, just a few blocks from where I live, passed the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom that became the basis of the First Amendment to the Constitution, guaranteeing that all should be able to worship or not as they see fit without being preferred or punished for the choice that they make. And that fundamental first freedom, we have a museum in Richmond that we call the Museum of America's First Freedom. And if you've never visited, I would encourage you to, because it will remind us all of the really historic gift we gave to the world in the First Amendment to the Constitution. I want the United States to be the safest, most welcoming, and friendliest place in the world for any Jew, for any Catholic, for any Muslim. But I've got to admit, if that's my goal, we're falling short of it. We're falling short of it with respect to Jews right now, and we have to do better. I want to read something. Debbie Wasserman Schultz did not steal my line, but she set me up extremely well when she said that she does not like to use the word tolerance. Let me read an amazing letter that many of you might know, but if you don't, I would encourage you to read the whole thing. In the aftermath of passing the Statute of Religious Freedom in Virginia, the legislator who made it happen was James Madison. The drafter of the statute was Thomas Jefferson, but he was an ambassador to France, and James Madison got it through the Virginia General Assembly. And by a great fluke of timing, within a year, James Madison was asked to draft the Bill of Rights. And he used the Statute of Religious Freedom to draft the Bill of Rights. Soon after George Washington, a Virginian, became the first president of the United States after the drafting of the Constitution in 1787, a Jewish congregation in Newport, Rhode Island, wrote him a letter to congratulate him, but frankly also to kind of probe him a little bit to see how welcoming this new nation would be to Jews. And so it was a letter of congratulations, but also an effort to build a bridge with this first president. And George Washington wrote a letter back to this congregation. Let me read it to you, mindful of the setup that Debbie Wasserman Schultz gave me. This is a letter from August of 1790. All possess alike liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship. It is now no more that toleration is spoken of, as if it was by the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens. Washington concluded the letter with this beautiful phrase: "May the children of the stock of Abraham who dwell in this land continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of other inhabitants, while everyone shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid." I read those words on the floor of the Senate on January 16 to remind us of our roots, the battle for religious freedom, not just for toleration, but the battle for religious freedom is something we've been proud of since 1787, and we have to return to that. And I told the story of a friend of mine in Boston who has been telling his family to remove mezuzahs from their doors so that they won't be targeted. My friend Andy, who told me that, made me think about it. I did a little bit of research, and I found that this is a thing, that people are targeted for mezuzahs on their doors, on college campuses, in neighborhoods. A few years ago, an enterprising group of students at the University of Indiana came up with a solution when students were being targeted. They handed out mezuzahs to people all over campus, and many put mezuzahs on their own doors to demonstrate solidarity with the Jewish community. And so I wondered, well, how do I buy a mezuzah? I'm a Catholic guy. I mean, I've never thought about this before, but I found a mezuzah online, of course. Amazon delivered it to my house very quickly. And I put it on the door to my house in Richmond. I didn't put the scroll in it because I feel like that's a religious tradition that would be wrong to appropriate as a Catholic. But what I put in it, I put something in it. Instead of the scroll, what I put in it is, "None shall be afraid." I just wrote that on a piece of paper, and I put that in the mezuzah on my door. This is a time when we just have to, thank you. This is a time when we just have to recommit to what we said about ourselves in 1787. You know, this is a battle that's been going on for millennia, and it has spikes, and it retracts, and yet it never goes away. We just have to recommit to it, and it takes all, and I'm so happy that you allowed a Catholic senator to make a brief shot to come visit you today. And even if you move it to the house, I'm still coming back next year. Thank you so very much, and have a great day.